In this video, I'll walk through how to do a remnant cutoff in IGEMS. So if you end up with a nest like this, you might want to do a cutoff on the end here to save some of this material. Easiest way to do this is under the Draw submenu, use the polyline command if you're going to do more than one line segment. That way it'll already be joined together. So I can basically start at whichever edge. So since my snaps are on, I'm just going to temporarily turn those off. And actually, if I do the nearest option, right click, choose nearest, I can click on a point along the edge of the sheet here, and then I can just draw this line down. So since I have my ortho on, it's going a nice straight line. And then I can left click and just draw whatever I want to do to get around this geometry. So I can even get fancy and turn off my ortho and do something like this. And then at the end here, I could do right click and do perpendicular to the edge of the sheet there. You can also draw a line going across existing parts. So in this case here, I'll just do the regular line command since I'm just going to do a straight line here. And I'll do N for nearest again and choose somewhere along here. And I'll just drag this straight down and right click, do perpendicular to there. And we could also do one left to right if we wanted to. We'll go with this for right now. So on the Cam tab, under the Toolpath submenu, we've got the cutoff option down here. And then in this box you can choose the speed that you want to do this cutoff at. So generally people do that a little bit faster since the quality doesn't matter so much. Piercing type, if you have this set as linear, it'll give you a message that the piercing lead-in length is too short. It's going to use a stationary pierce. If you set it to user or air start, it'll just turn the water and the abrasive on and start to move. And then shortest cut is the shortest line segment that'll do the remnant cutoff on. So if you have two parts that are close together like this, if that little line segment in there that it sees is equal to or less than that, then it's not going to do the remnant cut on that. And then this is how far away from the edge of a part that it'll stop and start, so it doesn't ding the edge of the part. We'll click on OK, and then you can click on the line segment. So we'll click on that, and then we'll click on that. So on this one down the sheet here, this area here, because this little cutoff was going to be less than that 1/8 inch, didn't actually do a remnant cut in there. But in these other areas, you can see it does a remnant cut there, does a remnant cut there. So anywhere that would cross across the middle of a part, it doesn't do a remnant cut because it knows that that's already been cut off. It doesn't need to do that. And then we've got that there. And then similar thing on the end there. Now if you're using one of our ride-along height sensors, you want to make sure that you don't make this line segment too far beyond the edge of the sheet so that the height sensor doesn't go off the edge of the sheet. And we'll set our 0, point. And you'll see that it'll always put the cutoffs at the end of your cut sequence. And then it's going to start its remnant cutoff at the end of that line, which is closest to the last part that it just did. So since it did this part here last, then basically rapids up to this point here and does that segment there. And then it'll do rapid over and do that line segment. So you also make sure that you don't have any clamps in the areas where this is going to do this, so it does this rapid move here. If you're keeping your head down, you're going to want to make sure there's no clamps there, or make sure there's no clamps where it's going to come down to do those cutoffs. If you're using our newer Apex 60 5-axis head with a height setter, I've added a thing into the post where if it would normally have done a height setter on the Remnant cutoff, it'll turn those into programmable Z moves instead. And then you can also add additional Z height to the standoff for that Remnant cut. Since depending on what's happened to the material might have bowed up a little bit, you can basically have your Z height be a little bit higher when you're doing those Remnant cutoffs. That's what this dialog box here is. So it'll do those for each of those Remnant cuts, so it breaks that up into those individual cuts there. So it'll go to towards the end here. So here it finishes the last hole, and then rapids up to here. Here we've got this additional 1/8 inch standoff for that Remnant cut, and does that one, and then comes back and does those ones, and then the cut on the end. So if you have any questions on that, let us know. Thanks.